This episode of the Aussie Baggers Show is proudly brought to you by N1 Cornhole Gear. N1 are the leaders in cornhole bags, boards, and tournament accessories. If you want to take your game to the next level, head over to n1cornholegear.com.au and use code Aussie to save yourself 10% at checkout. G'day mates, welcome to the Aussie Baggers, your one-stop podcast for all things cornhole down under. We're here to dive deep in the world of cornhole, and we're bringing you some fair dinkum content about this legendary backyard game that's taken the world by storm. In today's episode, we're going to discuss the recent ACL Australia Open into how the event unfolded, how Australian players are compared to the American pros, results and any shenanigans that unfolded. And to help us with this task, we are joined today by a fantastic guest and one of the people responsible for bringing cornhole to the masses in North America, Europe, and now Australia. The Commissioner of the ACL, Stacey. Stacey, welcome to the show.
Good day. Thank you for having me.
Welcome, Stacey. Good to have you on the show.
Great to see you guys again.
How?
It feels like it's been way too long already. I'm ready to come back.
Yes,
missing the nice sunshine and beautiful beaches.
Absolutely.
Did you get much downtime between getting back from Australia and then rolling straight into the Myrtle Beach Open?
Did not have a ton of downtime. Unfortunately, it's been a busy time since I've been back home.
Yeah, for sure. I bet. And so, for us Aussie novices, can you give us, I guess, elevator pitch or summary of what your role is as the ACL Commissioner, when you actually created the ACL, how that came about, and what your role is currently as the Commissioner of the American Cornhole League?
Yeah, so we started on this mission just over 7 years ago to organize cornhole, not only to make it a professional sport, but to organize cornhole in a better way for the amateur and recreational players as well. So we set out to do that by creating our own software. So we are a software first company, I would say, that can power all kinds of different events of all different sizes. So that's one of the key factors. And then we wanted to display the skills of the best players at the time in the U.S. and now the best players in the world. Wanted to give them a stage to be able to showcase their talents and for others to see how serious it is when you get up to the professional level. So yeah, our goal is to not only to continue to grow the sport in the U.S. but around the world. We're supporting the Olympic movement through two different nonprofits, USA Cornhole and the World Cornhole Organization, that is then supporting other international federations and getting those established in hopes of making cornhole an Olympic sport.
And how do you think we're tracking there? I mean, obviously, it would selfishly be nice to have cornhole at the Olympics in Brisbane 2032. Do you think that is a possibility at this stage? Where are you sitting in terms of your confidence there?
I do. We just missed, I would say, the window for applying to be in LA 28. So I fully expect that we will at least apply and be giving a serious shot in 2032 in Brisbane. And it'd be great to see things come full circle since we just had our first ACL Australian Open with US players just south of Brisbane.
Yeah.
In the Gold Coast at Tweedhead. So
Yeah,
I think that'd be really cool. Yeah, be a really cool way to launch cornhole as an Olympic sport there.
Yeah, we definitely
And hopefully we
good
can
taste of that. Sorry.
Yeah, and hopefully we can get more of the pros coming out for the Olympics this time as well. Not so worried about the long ass flight that you got to take.
Yeah, it's a lot easier coming over than going back. So the jet lag for me going back was took me a couple of days for sure. But coming over, I was able to get in the swing of things pretty good.
And so, Stacey,
That's
what
good.
were your thoughts overall on the ACL Australia Open? So, for those that weren't aware and that are listening, we had the first ever ACL Australia in Tweed Heads on the border of New South Wales and Queensland. So that was held on the 8th, 9th, and 10th of December. What did you think? Was it what you envisioned? What sort of went into your decision to venture over to Australia, because obviously that wouldn't have been a decision that was made lightly and came with a lot of moving parts and investment. So yeah, what were your thoughts overall on the tournament?
Yeah, it definitely exceeded my expectations going into the event. So that's awesome. Um, we thought we were well on our way in Australia pre-COVID when we had, I believe it was 18 Australians that came over and played in our world championships in the US.
Yeah.
And we thought that was going to lead to a big kickoff in terms of organized cornhole in Australia. COVID obviously pumped the brakes on that quite a bit, and then obviously we hooked up with you, Daniel, and been going back and forth during COVID, running some virtual events and things like that, and trying to get our formats and our software launched over there. And so I think this is a great first event so that players could experience our software, the way that we run tournaments, the professionalism that Todd Kosicki has established here in the U.S., and how he's been able to take that internationally and work with guys like yourself and with the people in Canada and in Europe. Has just been amazing to see. And these first time events are great. You always have to have your first event before you can have your second one. I thought the numbers were good. I thought the action was good, and everyone was very welcoming. So like I said, it definitely exceeded my expectations, and I think it was a great start to something big.
Yeah, and shout out there to Todd Kosicki. So not only is he just a great guy outside of cornhole, but he ran an absolutely phenomenal event and does it without showing any signs of stress or emotion, which I think is probably pretty important in that kind of role. There's not too many people, I think, that could do what he does. And yeah, he he's a modest guy and he flies under the radar, but it was absolutely incredible the way he put all that together in terms of working with as well. We've had a switch from sending out text messages as a form of notification for tournaments now to push notifications, and all that was sort of happening in between as well. So well done to Todd, and yeah, also Stacey. Thank you to you and your crew that came over here to actually put that together.
Well, no, just on Todd, definitely was cool as a cucumber and made everything run pretty smoothly. So I guess following on from the success and how everything's going sort of with that, I guess, were there any sort of big highlights, whether it be, from how some of the Aussie players played? I guess we had Willie from Indonesia came over. I guess what were some of the big highlights for you on that event, barring, I guess, Mark's final shot in the singles?
Yeah, it was definitely cool to see Indonesia represented. It was cool to see Western Australia represented and make the big flight east. I thought was great. The level of play is probably, I would say, about what I expected. For guys who have been playing it for a while and haven't had that level of exposure to the pros, they're gonna make some good shots. I thought the consistency overall with the top players there in Australia that showed up was really good, and a great foundation to keep improving on. I think Liam and Daniel, both of you guys had your own little highlight moments, right?
Definitely.
On the broadcast court, I believe. So
Liam came home with a little bit more money in his pocket, but yeah, we both had a couple of highlight reels there that are nice to look back on. So that
my parents were definitely not happy with my highlight reel. I think the words were, "How can we be so proud and so disappointed at the same time?"
Those at home, you're referring to one of many shoeys that took place. I don't think I've ever seen as many shoeys in my life, other than maybe on a couple of footy trips.
There was definitely a few shoeys that got around, and I know that as soon as I walked off after the win, I was just like, what has just happened? Playing with one of the best cornhole players in the world, the 2023 MVP, just managed to, finally get my game together. And then as I'm walking off, someone chants shoey, and without thinking, the shoe's off, and The beer's going down my throat.
And then the shoey peer pressure viewed from there. And I think everyone had to do a shoey at some point in time, most of them being off camera.
I think
Yes,
But,
most of them being off camera. There was a few on camera. Connor managed to do one on camera, and so did Zach. But yeah, no, definitely a few people got amongst the weird Australian tradition, one of many weird Australian traditions that we have.
So next year, if I'm able to come back, invited back, can I just bring a clean pair of shoes?
You
for
can bring a clean
shoeings,
pair of
or-
shoes.
or
There's
does it have to be shoes you're wearing?
doesn't have to be shoes you're wearing. There's actually the UFC fighter Taito Ovasa. Not sure if you're aware of him. Guy from Western Sydney. He has actually built a shoe that has a tap in the end. So you fill it up and you turn your tap on with the shoe. So we might have to try and get a few of those so they can
Yeah, I think
There you
get
go.
around and not use the dirty
everyone
shoe.
will be coming a lot more prepared next year. That's for sure.
So in the U.S., there was a trend back in my younger years where they passed around a glass boot, which had somewhat of a similarity to it. And so you basically filled up this really tall glass boot, and you had to chug out of that. But
I have one sitting
they-
right there.
okay, so maybe I'll invent a glass.
Glass shoe. Yep. I like that. I like that.
And so,
Definitely a lot cleaner.
so in terms of the road, like you mentioned, 2017 was when the ACL began. Even though I've obviously followed cornhole for the last few years, day in, day out, it's actually surprising to hear that the sport is so young. And when I say sport, the professional side of the sport, and it's incredible to see how far the sport has come in such a short period of time. What do you envisage over the next 5 years in terms of the roadmap of the sport? I mean, obviously the goal is the Olympics, and the sooner the better, of course, selfishly. But 5 years from now, where do you see the American Cornhole League? World Cup in 2030. How many countries do you see participating? What's your goal and expectation over the next few years?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely envision a World Cup within the next 5 years consisting of around 50 or more countries trying to qualify to send teams over, depending on how that format evolves to play in a World Cup event. I mean, we saw it go from, I believe it was around 7 teams last year to like 17 this year over in Europe. So the growth opportunity is tremendous, and seeing how fast it can get started. Right? I think the main thing is going to be keeping up with the equipment demand of high quality equipment that we authorize for competitive play, and making sure that level of equipment is consistent around the world. I think that's our biggest challenge, but I think that's also important for the long term legitimacy of the sport.
Yeah, I think a lot of the players at the ACL Australia Open were blown away by just how good all of the ACL equipment and stamp bags were. A few people took some home with them, and also had a number of people follow up after the event wanting to get their hands on a set as well. So that's great to see. And I think, yeah, it was going back to the event itself. It was quite incredible. I think Trey mentioned it on the ACL podcast a couple of weeks ago, that to have the number 1 and the number 2 player in the world playing games right in front of our eyes a number of times, whether it be in a doubles or singles format, actually don't always even get to see that in America and US Open or nationals, let alone in a international event. So that was pretty amazing to have the equipment that you see on the ESPN broadcasts and seeing in all those major events that we see televised and streamed in the US, actually, right there in front of us. So that was incredible. And Yeah, I agree. The equipment with is one of those things that, you have to get right and standardize if you're to be taken seriously and to be able to get onto that Olympic stage. I think you're doing a great job of that so far from what I can see. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to see, over the next couple of months how the preparations for the World Cup in 2024 go. I believe it's going to be hosted in Germany. Have I got that right?
Yep.
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 So
Yep. That's that's the plan for next year. I certainly see, um, as the sport continues to evolve in other parts of the world that we go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to maybe even 5 kind of world events throughout the year, in different geographic areas, and maybe all that culminates into a World Cup championship, or maybe they're regional events, and it's like a certain number of qualifiers from each region, uh, call them continents or whatever you want to say, end up kind of qualifying to advance into that team oriented World Cup event. I think would be really cool and really special.
So do you have a roadmap at this stage for that, or is it still sort of loosely, sort of we have an idea, or still fine tuning exactly how you sort of want it to run?
Yeah, so the WCO has a strategic roadmap for how they want to grow the international federation and organize cornhole for the Olympics and the Olympic movement. From a team perspective, we obviously we want it to be gender neutral. So that's really big. We want the same number of men as women to be on a team. So you can imagine that team competition and that format that we've done before has featured men's singles, women's singles, men's doubles, women's doubles, and mixed doubles, which gives you 5 games to create a match. And so we like that format a lot. We could potentially tweak it some between now and then, but I think that format is the big winner for the Olympics.
And would it be something that the ACL sort of, or is it going to be down to sort of federations within that country for the production of the team? Do you guys need information? Well, are you thinking you're going to need scores from certain players, or is there a threshold? The qualifying process, I guess, on that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, each federation will have its own qualifying process to a degree. We would like to see that as standardized as possible, especially so that we can have consistent scores and stats on all the players leading into these international events, so we can compare apples to apples. And so that's one of the reasons why we invest heavily in our software to be able to do that and power all those scores and stats, so that one country's power rankings or the way one country does stats may not be similar to another. So if we can standardize that along with standardize the equipment around the world, then then I think that we'll have a really good way to compare and contrast international players that may have not played against each other per se, but maybe they've played against like opponents, uh, somewhere across the way that we can draw some level of power rankings around.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm definitely
Oh,
excited for
yeah.
the and I've noticed in the ACL this year, there's been a big, I guess, push, whichever term you want to use. I know there's been a lot of focus on the team aspect of cornhole, and that seems to be really popular and taking off this year. How's that all been going in terms of the ACL teams events and the chatter around the pros and the minor league representatives? How's that being received by the general public and the players themselves in those team formats? Do you see that being the way forward and potentially having, yeah, international teams also participating and competing with some of those US state teams?
Yeah, we're definitely excited about teams. Um, I felt like we did a pretty good job with our pro teams format last year. We tweaked it again going into this year, hoping to make it a little bit better. And like you said, we launched minor league teams, and I believe we've had close to 50 different minor league teams
Wow.
that are now underneath our 16 pro teams in the U.S. Canada actually had a draft and
Awesome.
created four teams out of their pros. So I believe we're up to what we're calling 32 Canadian pros. So as I see the pro level evolving, the pro level can mean different things in different countries. We'd like to kind of set that mark at a certain initial number. So let's say that next year we get together with you guys, Daniel, and say, I think it's really time to create a level of Australian pros and Australian competition. What does that look like? Do we want to start with 8 or 16 or 32 and all that? It'll probably happen faster than you think, depending on how dedicated that core group of players that we met here recently really wants to stick and get better. So I think it's certainly there to create it and then create kind of your own pro team and minor league system, kind of mirroring what we're doing here in the U.S. And I think that will lead to international professional competitions within the various ACL organizations around the world.
Yeah, I think the WCO and obviously the national federations that fall under that will play a critical part, obviously, in trying to standardize and make it fair in terms of who will represent their country, and obviously trying to seek government grants and support for funding those trips and being able to grow the game from the grassroots level, I think is going to be really critical. And there's been some work being done here with the creation of the Australian Cornhole Federation, which is probably an episode in itself. But yeah, I think it's definitely exciting, and I know that there are a lot of players here that are keen to sort of get that competitive feel that we had at the Oz Open, and have that replicated and being able to visit other countries as well, and put on the green and gold jersey and represent the country with pride. So I think that the teams aspect gets me pretty excited, and I think that's going to be really fun to watch that evolve over the next couple of years.
It's definitely something to look forward to. I mean, I'm definitely slightly thinking about going to Germany at this point. But we'll see. We'll see what happens, and if my work allows it. That's the big one.
Get that request in early, Liam. Liam, I think you've
Yes.
got. We've been talking some of the serious stuff, but we obviously we're not going to let Stacey get away that easy. I think you put together a little bit of a test or Aussie exam. Talk us through, Liam. What you've got in store for
All right. So this is something that we want to do for our international guests that come on the show. So basically, our idea is to see how Aussie you are. So I'm going to throw at you a few, jargon phrases, Australian myths, and sort of see what comes of it. Now, I am going to keep a score of this, and at the end of the year, I'm thinking that the winner will get sent a jar of Vegemite for them to enjoy. So, look, we'll start off with the first one. Does Australia have a bear?
Does Australia have a bear? I'm going to say no.
That is correct. The koala bear is actually not registered as a bear. It's marsupial, close to the wombat.
Yes, and I actually held a koala bear. I do have a picture.
You got a picture?
Holding a koala bear that I sent to my family, and they all thought that was very sweet.
What? So. Didn't get chlamydia?
I think that's what my friend Bernie asked me as soon as I got back. That was his first question. I was like, I don't think so.
You managed to stay away from the drop bears those days. What did you get up to? I forgot to ask you. Did you get any? Obviously, the event itself was pretty full on, but before and after the event, did you get to do anything? I know you were keen to try and get out and do some fishing, but I don't know if you had the chance to work that out.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I wasn't able to do fishing. I did a day at the Gold Coast with Wally. There, we're able to take a day before setup, and just kind of go up to the Gold Coast, guess the city area, and kind of walk around and check some things out and do some drinks at various watering holes there in Australia.
What'd you think of the
And
beer?
well, very good, very good. So and then then I spent a day in Brisbane before I flew out, and I flew out of Brisbane. So that's where I went to the koala sanctuary.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a trip to
There-
Australia without seeing or holding some koalas, right?
Yeah.
There's sort of 3 animals you want to tick off while in Australia. Your koala, your platypus, and your kangaroo. Platypuses are very hard to see, and not many people have seen them.
Yeah.
But basically, if you don't know what a platypus is, it's a duck and a beaver had sex, and it's a result.
Across
Weird
one of those
animal.
animals, really. It's only acceptable to eat one of those 3 animals.
Very
Figure out
tasty.
what else we got.
All right, so the next one we've got, basically just what does this word mean? Smoko.
I'm not sure what that one means.
If we use it in a sentence, when smoko?
When smoko, it sounds like an event
Smoke fest.
where someone smokes.
Basically,
A smoke fest.
anyone that's working and wants to go for a break and a smoke break, that's what you call smoko. So you'll see a lot of people on the construction site or something like that. When someone says we're going for smoke, it's time to grab a cigarette or a vape and have a break.
9:30 every morning. 15-minute break before your lunch.
right,
how about the word servo?
What was that one?
So if I say, babe, I'm just
Can you
heading
hear that one?
up to the servo to grab some milk.
Convenience store.
No,
What?
it's service station. He kind of led you astray with that one.
Gas station.
But you standard
That's
service
what I call it.
station, gas station.
All of our service stations have convenience stores.
We might have to get a half mark on that one. That was a tough one.
We'll give you a half.
Okay. Yeah, I get a half one on that.
Yep. Bottle-o.
Bottle-o? That sounds like a beer.
Close.
No, that's where you buy beer. That's where you buy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where you buy beer.
What about the term budgie smugglers?
You said fudgy smugglers with an F?
B.
Budgie.
Or budgie smugglers. As in a bird?
Small bird.
These
Maybe
smugglers.
big bird, depends.
Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know.
Put him out of his misery.
Speedos.
Speedos?
Speedos. So
All right.
So budgie smugglers are your standard Speedo, and it's generally because it looks like you have a budgerigar in your pants.
And I've actually seen a picture of Takasaki wearing a Speedo. So, sorry, Todd.
We might have to get that, make that
Blow it up.
poster for episode 4. No.
Yeah.
All right, next one. What do Australians put on the barbie?
Oh, definitely shrimp. No?
Nah,
Not shrimp on the Barbie?
it's prawns. We have prawns in Australia and not
Prawns?
shrimp. And shrimp, it's the one way to trigger an Aussie is by asking if they're going to put shrimp on the barbie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Liam, are we giving a point for that?
No. That was the bait. I was hoping he said shrimp. So
You fell straight into the
I
trap.
was gonna say like steak. I was gonna say like steak just to
really throw it.
for else in there.
All right. Now I guess this is a pretty hard one, But if you're speaking to an Aussie and they say, yeah, nah, what does that mean?
No, thank you.
Yeah, pretty well. Pretty well. What about nah, yeah?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, a lot of people struggle with that. Slightly different. All right, and this I think how many days? Is that 9? Daniel,
I'm
or
up to
skip one?
7 here. We're
You're up to 7?
3.5 out of 7 so far, so just at a pass.
What? No, I think you missed a couple.
We'll have to go back to the tape.
Okay. So
yeah, go back to the tape.
We'll go back on the tape. We'll put a counter on the
I just got the
end
last
product.
2. I just got the last. I guess that was 1.
What is a stubby?
Stubby. I'm gonna say is a small beer.
Bingo.
Spot on. Now there's another answer to that that's slightly different to drinking related. And you'd say,
Liam, pass us a stubby. I won't give too much more.
No, not that one. Or how do we use it in a sentence? Is he outside with stubbies? That's still beer. I'm trying to think of a way I can state. Okay, anyway, Australia, we have short shorts that you play rugby league, AFL, a lot of our games, and they're very, very short shorts. So they're called stubbies as well.
Short shorts. All right.
Yeah, short shorts. You can see the whole leg, and pretty much budgie smugglers.
Trzynski wears stubbies. Put it that way.
And then the last one's stubby holder. So if you've already got a beer in your hand, like get us a stubby, you're getting a stubby holder.
Or a koozie, as you guys
we'll
call
give you
Or a koozie. Yeah.
koozie. Yeah. Okay. Didn't know that was the American term for it.
Actually brought 2 koozies back from Australia.
You can't have enough. I've got a drawer of 30 to 40 odd of them. I don't know why I have so many, but I do.
I think that was my only treasure that I brought back.
It's a good treasure to have.
Probably wouldn't have had any trouble getting that past customs. I think Tony Smith, number 2 player in the world, did have a little trouble on the way home with his carry-on luggage and his bags. I don't think he was too happy about. He had.
I've not heard that story yet.
As he was going through customs on the way home, got his lucky bags taken and confiscated and thrown in the trash. So that is a hot tip. Players that are traveling internationally, do not take your cornhole bags on the plane with you. Put them in your checked luggage. Yeah, that just goes to show that the game perhaps is still mature here in Australia compared to the US, where it's probably a lot more commonplace going through international or domestic airports with cornhole bags. But obviously, whoever he went past didn't like the look of them and just threw them straight in the trash. So
I heard a story. So most of the times what happens in the US is they will swab them and test them. And most of the times they will test every single cornhole bag that a player is carrying through the airport. So players, they allot extra time. They're putting their bags through as a carry-on. Go through so to expect to get them tested. I think who was it? I think Tornado, Chris Tortola, I think he told a story. He had like 12 bags. They passed 10 of them, but took 2 of them or something like that. Or they cut one of them open or something along those lines.
Well, he also had his bags in checked luggage when he came over, and I think his baggage got lost or it was delayed or something like that. So he didn't have clothes or bags for the first 2 days of the.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they held that specifically because they wanted to check, because obviously all the checked bags still go through the same testing, right, and through all the machines. So I wouldn't be surprised if they held that one back just to have a closer look at the bags inside and yeah, I've had the same thing where a couple of years ago I bought some bags from All Cornhole, and they arrived, and one had basically a slash in it because they wanted to check what was inside it, and then just you cut one, you almost ruin the whole set, right? So, but yeah, learned that one the hard way. How many more we got, Liam? I think we're up to 2 left. I'm counting correct.
2 left. So we're going to go for one final term, and then we'll finish off with an Australian person. Drongo.
Drongo?
Drongo with a D. D-R-O-N-G-O.
Drongo. I'm going to go with an Australian wrestler.
Pretty cool, actually.
No, not quite. Not quite. The final one's going to be a person. So I probably led you astray then. So this one is just a term. The last one will be a person.
Drongo. Let's see.
If you call I'll give you a hint.
Drongo.
If you call someone a drongo, what are you saying? What are you saying about them?
I don't know. How about drunk?
Possibly.
You're an idiot. You're an idiot. Yeah. So Drongo is just an idiot. You just like.
So according to Wikipedia, it's a fool, an idiot, or a stupid fellow. But I don't think. Okay, so from what I see, we're on a 5 already. So you have passed, but to get up into the sort of credit.
This is probably the hard one. So this person, Australian legend, every Aussie knows them. Just tell us what you think they do, why everyone knows them, how are they famous? Warney. It's his last name, Warney.
His last name is Warney?
Warn.
His last name's Warn, but everyone calls him Warney.
I don't recognize that as a tennis player.
Correct. You can scratch that off the list.
Tennis.
Otherwise known as the King of Spin.
King of Spin.
Iconic Australian sport.
It must be an Aussie rules football player.
No, an Aussie cricketer.
Cricketer.
Yeah.
Known that.
Yep. He's one of the greatest that has ever lived, and he's renowned amongst Australia and internationally. And yeah, everyone wishes they could spin like him. That's for sure.
I was hoping, I was looking to try to find a cricket match in Brisbane, but I couldn't find one that was going on. I thought we had talked about it. I thought you had said you thought one was going to be happening up there, but I couldn't find it.
Yeah, I think that during that time, because I remember looking, I think that was happening in Adelaide, Melbourne, and Sydney, on those few days. So because I hadn't thought about going to see one up there while I was there. But yeah, awesome. All right, so I think that is
a respectable
5
out of 10. Seeing as you're the first person
respectable 5.
We've run that with, you are in the lead at the moment for the Vegemite. So
good. I was hoping for the Save the Queen question. Still have my coin from the Save the Queen.
Do you still have the coin?
Game that, yeah, I'm going to get that frame.
Yeah.
So I look forward to playing Save the Queen again.
Sounds like a plan. Awesome. All right. Well, I guess, Dan, do you have anything else that you want to?
No, really, just to finish off, I think thank you again for your time. I mean, you've just come off a huge weekend in Myrtle Beach, as I mentioned earlier, for another ACL Open, which I think I want to say, based on what I heard, again, Trey Ryder was being interviewed by the Big Ass brothers on their podcast, and I think he mentioned you guys had 1,000 unique players register for the Myrtle Beach Open. So that's pretty incredible. And yeah, to think, you're coordinating that many people in multiple events is pretty phenomenal for a league that's only been running officially 7 years. So yeah, thank you for taking the time to come on. I know you probably got 1,000 other things you could be doing right now, and it's probably getting pretty late there. So thank you again for taking the time to jump on our show. We hope that you had a great time in Australia, and we can't wait to have yourself and all of the ACL team back again. They were all incredible people. I'm not just saying that, and even the pros that made their way over were incredibly helpful and giving instructions and tips to all of the players here. And I know that we really appreciate that, and that's just something money can't buy. So yeah, I thought myself, and the feedback has been that the ACL's presence here in Australia was phenomenal, very professional, very welcoming. Everything kind of just fell into place in terms of the venue, the equipment, and the way the event ran. So yeah, I was super pumped, and took a couple of days to come back, because that's probably the most cornhole I've ever played. A year, let alone over a couple of days, right? So that was something that perhaps we'll have to keep in mind for the next one. Is 7 or 8 hours of cornhole a day is pretty full on. So I just wanted to say thank you, and yeah, looking forward to the next one for sure.
Yeah, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing what happens next. Shout out to Reggie and the people at Tweetheads for being fantastic hosts. And I really look forward to coming back, and appreciate your support and everyone in Australia supporting the ACL.
Awesome stuff.
Thanks, Stacey. Appreciate it. This episode of the Aussie Baggers Show is proudly brought to you by N1 Cornhole Gear. N1 are the leaders in cornhole bags, boards, and tournament accessories. If you want to take your game to the next level, head over to n1cornholegear.com.au and use code Aussie to save yourself 10% at checkout.